Can you tell how much aura you have in any situation? The answer is yes. And I'm going to show you not too much science behind it, but just enough for you to understand this is not just some arbitrary guy making this up. And by the end of the video, you'll understand why it is exactly the way it is, and you can see it in your own life, and you can know exactly how to increase or decrease your aura. Yes, there are times you're going to want to decrease it. If you want to just lay low in a situation and you don't want everybody like, sometimes you're going to want to take it down a notch, right? These are the Sigma males videos that I see on YouTube. Never watched one, but I'm sure I'm gonna watch one someday. Find out what the Sigma male thing is all about, right? But aura, let's get to the point. So this started. Actually, I was having a conversation with a client of mine, a legend in the making. He just doesn't realize it yet, and I know you'll see this video. And he was having some challenges. He was taking a lot of action, right? He was applying what's called his adaptive intelligence, right? Taking action, then analysis, rather than uh, analysis, then taking action, right? Something I used to suffer from. No more, though. No more. So he was trying to figure out, okay, I'm taking the action, and it feels like I'm getting a lot of feedback. Maybe it's in the case with a woman and getting numbers, or people are treating him differently than they used to. But it's like there's something missing, and I don't know how to quite determine where I am in terms of my improvement. And so, uh, what you're about to learn is what I explained to him, and it was such an impactful conversation that I was like, this is worth sharing. So this is going to be my first YouTube video within this context. So hopefully you enjoy it. Now, let's get to Aura. Aura is actually an acronym. Aura is an acronym. So the first A means allure. What is your level of allure? So think of it like, I know many of you guys are play video games or Pokemon fans. Each character has a stat. So in any situation, you have four stats that are coming off you at any given time when people are looking at you. First is your allure, your level of appearance, right? What do you physically look like? Does it fit the context? Do you look like you haven't showered in 400 years? Do you smell? Does your breath stink? Right? Are your shoes filthy? These are appearance filters. In the case of a woman, is it how does women are usually not um, usually where women struggle with this is if they dress too sexually provocatively. Usually women are very good about uh, discerning this particular element of aura because their aesthetics, which is another A you could use, their aesthetics are what derive a lot of their value growing up. So particularly young women are very sensitive to their level of allure in any given situation. And we're going to break down how each of them work and how you can increase them. And then the second thing is your level of utility, right? How useful are you to the person beyond your looks? Three, relatability. And four is authenticity, aura. So these are the four metrics you need to know. But how do they work? I'm going to explain it in the same example I gave him yesterday. I want you to imagine a room where you walk in, you're one of 10 guys, right? It's an empty room. And then there are 10 women in there, all beautiful. You're a handsome guy. The other guys are handsome guy. Whatever. More or less, the, on a look scale, right? The constraint here, the confound here is not that some people are unattractive physically and some people are attractive physically. Everybody is about the same. Y'all all sevens or eights or tens, whatever. And the game is this: each person is going to interact with each other one time. So you can imagine a table, right? Almost like a speed dating situation. And each woman is going to meet each man, and we're going to go down and meet each person, right? So each person will meet them one time, and then at the end, each woman has to cast a vote for the man that she wants to interact with again. But the trick is that she doesn't know what the other women picked. So it's possible that several women will pick the same man, or it's possible that each woman will pick the exact man she wants and no other woman wants that man. Of course, you're intelligent men. You already know that's a very low probability. So, in this case, each guy gets an opportunity to interact with a woman, let's say for 5 minutes. And then at the end, each woman, goes, okay, who do I want to speak to again? And then for the remainder of the night, they can speak to that guy. And so, let's say I'm the person in the middle and I'm shaking it up and I'm like, okay, it's time for your pairings. And then what we noticed was one guy had 6 votes. The second guy had 2 votes. So that's already 8 of the women. And then 2 other guys ended up with 1 woman apiece. So, basically 4 guys. All the women were allocated to 4 guys. And now we have 6 guys who didn't get anything, right? Now, what's interesting about this example is that had the women known that the guy already had 6 votes, then that might have influenced who she would have picked. But she's evaluating it based on who she had the greatest experience with and who she wants to repeat the experience with again, right? This is key. She's operating based upon her true desire. And so we may look at that situation and go, well, what made one guy, something about how he was interacting made 6 of the women go with him? They didn't know they were all choosing him. So technically, from each woman's standpoint, they were choosing one guy. But that one guy got chosen 6 times. 6 times. And this is a lot like what happens in real life. Unless you're, and this is a more higher level, I don't usually speak about this on YouTube, but unless you're doing something where it's something like ethical non monogamy, where multiple women are simultaneously dating you at the same time, and it is ethically done, not cheating, where the women sometimes they can know each other, sometimes it can be a case where they know of each other, but they might not have met, or you guys haven't all shared a room, right? So in a case like that, then sure, it makes sense for multiple women to share the same guy. But in this case, most of those women likely wanted a monogamous dynamic. So it's a problem for them. And so now they may, wander off and select one of the guys that were available. But the question is, like, what if all the guys understood? Remember, looks are equal. What if all the guys understood what it was about that particular guy that made all 6 women choose him? And this is where aura comes in. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I want to give you just enough information that it's easy to digest and you can bring it into your life right now. And this is going to be like, again, like your character in a game, your stat sheet. You can at any moment evaluate any of the variables of aura. So, A, what is your level of appearance or allure? When people see you based on your physical appearance, face, facial hair, clothing, smell, just think of the 5 senses. What's the experience of the average person when they encounter you when it comes to their 5 senses? They haven't gotten to know you yet. The other 3 variables are when you are relating. But in the beginning, all they have to work with is what you look like. And so whether or not they have the interaction, we can go, don't judge a book by its cover, but that's not real life. In fact, the women that you likely are drawn to are, you approach them based on the cover. Your interest is based on the cover. So the cover matters, especially as a man. And that's something that's often either overemphasized in the case of the looks maxing, you know, thing, right? Where you go too far. And I understand it's not to judge it. I understand where it's coming from. In fact, there was a time where I thought that was what mattered the most, right? And then you have on the other side of the spectrum where people say looks don't matter at all, right? Where, you're just, and that's also not true, right? There's equilibrium, right? The primary law of existence is equilibrium. So equilibrium matters. Be wary of extremes, whether mindsets online or in your interactions with people. So we have allure. How do you stimulate the five senses of a person just by being around you? You might not be saying a word, but the five senses are being stimulated, and there's actually, especially with women, there's senses beyond the five, um, that in due time I'll share on here, and you'll be able to understand more about that. The second thing is your utility, so your lure. How do you stimulate the five senses? Keep it simple. Then your level of utility. This is a big one. Imagine a beautiful woman who gorgeous, and many men, especially if it's your first, you're younger, and you're in the place where you just want a beautiful woman to give you the time of day, have sex with you, all these things. When you're that range in your development, a woman being beautiful for the average guy is sufficient. They don't need any other requirements within their aura. But as you evolve as a man, as you start to gain assets that you could lose if the wrong woman or women were to come into your life, you start becoming a bit more selective, right? And that's where the utility, especially if you're looking to be married with children and whatnot, the utility element of a woman becomes important, because now it is not simply about what she looks like and how good she can do certain things to your body. I won't be too graphic here. Now, as you evolve as a man, you recognize that, hey, I've had all the pretty girls you can imagine. And what I noticed was that beyond her looks, maybe she didn't have much to offer. And you realize, okay, well, how many times will I have sex with this pretty girl with nothing else to offer? Is sex all there is to the relationship? Is looking cool to friends and family or other men on the street all there is to the relationship? Sometimes for some guys, that is all there is to their relationship. And if that's you, then, more power to you. But the most men are going to require utility from a woman. And so similarly, this is already kind of known by men, but women are going to require you to be useful in her life. And you can reduce this to pretty much, what can you teach me? What can you share with me? And what can you give me? What can you teach me, share with me, give me? Teach me, do for me, share with me. Those are all within the same ballpark. What can you teach me? This is a very big one. Again, we won't harp too much on this, but can you elevate a woman's mind? All right. Utility. Can you elevate sharing a woman's life? It doesn't have to be a bunch of money and all that, especially the more she's interested. But you are likely up to something in life. You're contributing to the group as a man. Certainly, you're not just some guy sitting in his room 24/7 with no desire to contribute to humanity. You're going to be depressed, no matter how much we try to hide it behind a video game. So, most men, if not all men, have a desire to contribute to the group. Sometimes it's just difficulty finding out what puzzle piece are you in the big picture, right? And that's where exploration journey, uh, and we won't go too much into that. But developing your utility, how can you benefit somebody else's life? So we have allure, utility, allure being, how do you stimulate my physical senses, five senses? Utility, how do you positively improve my life by being around you? Very key. These two alone will put you a cut above the rest. And now you can see in that example, likely most of those guys in there were just trying to get the girl to like them, right? Because allure was taken out of the equation because, we equalized looks. But then we have the other three variables, utility. So that guy who got the six women likely elevated that woman's mind within that short interaction, right? It may look something like, let me think of a real time example. I don't want to spend too much time thinking on the example, but let me see their interaction recently. Um, it probably were, but I can't. I can't. I don't want to dwell too long on that. And I wanted to use an example where it's an instinctual first encounter utility. Let's take um, with my yeah. Let's take it with my wife. Right. When I met her on a plane. Funnily enough, oh, actually, I won't go into that. But more or less, met her on the plane, um, and we were sitting next to each other. At the time, I was in a very focused state, so uh, I wasn't particularly open to welcoming any new women romantically at the time, um, for many reasons. But at the time, my level of centeredness and inability to be distracted by too much feminine energy wasn't as solid as it is now. So I was very particular about the women that I allowed into my world. And at that time, because of that, I was sharing a lot of things with her on that plane ride that would elevate her level of reality, right? And for her, that was the first time she's ever met a man who'd done that, which, was crazy to me. But it was actually a sentiment I heard often with women. They almost never meet a man that actually has anything to teach them. It's just about getting in the panties or getting validation from having sex with them, right? And so that drastically reduces your level of utility. Not because, again, it's about buying the woman 100 gifts and taking her on a 500 dates. It's about, do you have any value beyond your looks? Or is that all you are? So that drastically increases your aura. Again, across the board, even with other men. Then the next level of relatability. How much how much can I relate to you? Notice in the story throughout this conversation, I've touched often on times where I was lacking. A couple of seconds ago, I mentioned, oh, at the time, my gravitational pull, my level of centeredness was not where it needed to be to manage multiple women, and I learned that the hard way through making many mistakes of trying to manage too much at once. Wasn't a wise decision. Those were insecurities that I had to release within myself that I was trying to validate through an abundance of feminine affection. I've talked on that in previous videos before, but notice what I just did there. I I'm sharing information with whoever you are as the viewer that would enhance your experience of life. But what I did was throw in, hey, I used to be exactly there, or if not worse than where you are right now. Right? I don't go, well, I've never made a mistake in my life. Oh. Relatability. I am like you. I am not better than you. I am not superior to you. We are the same. I just had access to information you don't yet have. When you get access to the information, you will be and experience everything I just talked about. We are not different. Relatability. So oftentimes you can see a couple different extremes. You could see an extreme where the person goes, I'm going to try to be cooler than everybody else. And that's going to tie into the final piece of aura. Or they try to go, I'm inferior to everybody else. Let me compensate. Or sometimes even, let me hide the flaws, the weaknesses, all the things that don't make me look cool. And so they become unrelatable. Why? Because the only thing on their mind, and I know when I used to do this, the only thing on my mind, the big fear was, or the question I'd pose to my old self to reveal the thing is, what am I afraid people will find out about me? Right. And that's where the growth is. Not to say you want to have everybody know everything about you, but fearing it is a place of bondage. And we can all grow in that area, right? Nobody's perfect. We're all balanced men, imperfections and strengths. So even in this moment, I felt something go through my spinal cord, right? The electricity flowed through uh, the old microcosmic orbit, right? And I was like, okay, I want to go investigate if there's anywhere for me like that. Always, again, relatability. And that creates a level of connection that allure nor utility creates. And this honestly is one of the big ones. Unrelatable. And uninterested in trying to get to know who the person is. It's just about getting to the, you know, whatever to be the money, if it's a business situation, or it's getting into her pants, or if in the case of women, you'd be surprised getting into his pants, or getting to the money from him. All right. So relatability, powerful one. And then the final one is authenticity. Authenticity. How much of a front are you putting up? That ties very closely to relatability, but not quite the same. Because I could relate to you, but do it inauthentically. And you've seen probably seen people like that. If you ever talk to someone and they tend to go like, yeah, and you can tell the laugh isn't sincere. They're just laughing because they don't want you to. Uh, they don't want to see any signs that you don't like them. So they're like, well, if I agree in life with everything they say, ha 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 ha. No, no. People don't trust people like that. And that's the key thing with authenticity. You could say that allure measures your level of my pull towards you, my level of attraction, right? So if somebody's coming, they go, I'm attracted to them based on their level of allure. I want to meet them. It triggers desire within your social field. And then utility triggers actual value exchange. Relatability triggers connectedness. And then authenticity triggers trust. This person is who they say they are. And one of the biggest ways to, even though you can't display authenticity, that's the point, but I'm going to make this a little more technical if this is something that you as a viewer may have struggled with. One of the best ways to determine authenticity is to mention things that don't make you look cool. Oftentimes, one of the biggest things that hurt guys within any social context, but in particular with women and guys they respect, is that they try to seem like they don't have any weaknesses. And I remember I used to unconsciously do this. And funny enough, actually it wasn't even I'd say early 20s. But funny enough, the flip situation that came about, and this is the humor in it. I would literally tell people who knew me very well, like seeing me go through all the ups and downs of business when I had no confidence to approach a woman, when it was just, and I in these moments will be like, yeah, everything is going horribly right now, right? But some way it's gonna work out, right? Meaning it was going horribly based on if somebody else were to look at this, they'd say this is going terribly. but I know it's gonna work out in the end. It might not look good right now, but I know it's gonna work out in the end. And I'm not talking just simple positive thinking, right? But I point that out because in those moments, I would be like, yeah, I don't know. And later on, I'd have a conversation with that same person, and they're like, it seems like nothing ever bothers you. I'm like, I literally was telling you all the things that were going wrong at the time. And what I realized was that authenticity was not what I was saying. Because I'm like, I'm saying the thing. I'm telling you don't you remember the challenge I was having around here? Don't you remember the da 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 da? They're like, yeah, but you didn't. And that's when I realized they're signaling your subcommunication is what they're picking up on. Your aura will, again, I'll keep this very rudimentary. Your aura is what they're picking up on, not actually what you're saying. I could come on here in the way I am right now and be like, hey guys, we're gonna do. And you would be able to just sense the inauthenticity in me, even though you can't quite put a finger on it. You're like, I don't trust this guy. Something ain't right. And maybe you feel that way right now, right? In which case, great. Go find someone you trust. Don't waste your time here. Your life and time is way too precious. Even if you don't realize it yet, I'm gonna do you the solid. So there's several things that impact a person's level of social magnetism, or sometimes what I call social gravity. And the key variables are measuring how alluring am I? And do that to the best of your ability. If it's something of like, okay, I always smell. That's going to increase your allure, even if your utility is high, even if your relatability is high, even if your authenticity is high. If your allure is low, you're going to reduce the amount of options you have. If your utility is low, right, you're a handsome guy, but man, you can't do anything for yourself. You fall apart at the smallest little thing. You're useless. But it's not useless because you're incapable. You're useless because you haven't known that you could be capable. If you truly knew you were capable, you would have you'd be beyond useful. So it's not because you lack the abilities. It is always because you lack the awareness of your capabilities. All of us. Me right now, I am capable of so much more than I think right now. Like infinitely so. But my level of capability and knowing will increase over time. That's the point of the game. If I knew everything I needed to know at 90 at 2 years old, this would be boring. Right? So there's that. And then we have your relatability, right? How much can you relate to people? How much are you going? How much are people feeling when they talk to you? Hey, this guy's like me. This guy's like me. This guy has had insecurities like me. He was fearful like me. He wanted more like me. The only difference is he got access to information and did things that I didn't do and experienced things I've never experienced. But what is the gap between what you don't know and what you can't do? Knowledge and skill. That's always the only gap between access for anything we want in life. So, relate. Be you, even if it means you don't look cool. Forget looking cool. Being comfortable is way more important than being cool. But then what's funny is when you're very comfortable, people think you're very cool. They think you're very calm, cool, calm, and collected. But you're just comfortable. You're like, hey, I am imperfect. But I give it my best every day. That right there will drop more panties than pulling up with some car. Don't ask me how I know. Right. And then we have last but definitely not least, authenticity, being real. Going, hey, you'll see a woman, you're like, hey, I remember I was doing a training last year. I was like, one of the best things you can do when speaking to a woman is just going up there and telling her the truth. Hey, excuse me. Yeah, I didn't mean to bother you. Because if that's how you're actually feeling, say it. Let's say she's reading a book. If you're interrupting somebody, social graces would denote that you go, hey, let me acknowledge her reality. Hey, I don't mean to interrupt your reading. I noticed you from over there, and immediately you stood out to me. Now, initially, I wasn't going to come over here because I'm like, man, she looks like she's reading. What am I going to say? Right? But I said, screw it. I'm going to come over here, meet you, and see what happens. Hey, my name is Tim. She's going to, 9 times out of 10, whether she's interested or not, she go, oh my God, thank you. Oh, my name is Alicia. Right? Then you'll go. So, Alicia, what am I interrupting right now? What are you reading? Because I want to come meet you. Oh, this is just a book from da 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 da. Don't worry about it. You're not interrupting me. Da 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 da. And you go on with the conversation. But the key there is not what is the key principle within aura there? It wasn't allure, it wasn't utility, it was authenticity. I was nervous to come over here, but I said, screw it. I won't let this opportunity pass because you never know what's going to happen. No attempts to be cool, just be comfortable. So that's all I have. This is a lot longer than I expected it to be, but hopefully the value was received. And if you have any questions, leave them down below. I like this format. I'm going to be doing this a lot more. I can just come on here and speak without a bunch of, videos setting up and da 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 da. Shoot, the mic's not even perfect, but we're going to be authentic here and live what I'm talking about. So hopefully y'all enjoyed. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.